Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are, and welcome to Nerd Tube. We are talking Lower Deck Season 2, Episode 3. We'll always have Tom Paris. So I'm here with my usual Trekkie cohort, Cousin Cheeto. How you doing, mate?
Always glad to be here for Lower Decks.
Likewise. It was a very unusual episode, but then again, what is normal about Lower Decks is crazy as fuck. But we kind of got three storylines running in this episode. Usually we have a main plot and a subplot, but we kind of had a main plot and two subplots in this episode. The main plot was basically getting the cat doctor's item for her, which was a duo of Tendi and Mariner, because them two had never kind of worked together just as a duo. So it's good to see that. And the two subplots, well, the first one was to do with Boimler not being able to use any of the applications or even walk through doors on the Cerritos because he's not recognized. And in my opinion, probably something that really I didn't like at all was the return of Shax. Somebody who I thoroughly loved in season one and was so heartbroken to see him die, but appreciated his death nevertheless. And he's back. And it kind of, and I want to start with this, by the way. it kind of makes me unhappy seeing him come back because I felt there was stakes in season one at the end of season one with Shax dying. Yeah, it's all fun and games and stuff, but people can die. We saw that fucking collector die just in the last episode, so people can die in this show. So to see Shax coming back, kind of cheating, and I'm not sure how I'd feel if they had another death in the future when it came to one of the more significant characters, because you probably think they wouldn't die because Shax can come back, anyone can. So I'm not feeling the return of his character at all, and they never gave an explanation, which is part of the joke. I totally get it. I get the fact, but I think this is one of the few times where what they were trying to achieve fell flat on its face because it wasn't appreciated. It would have been better if it wasn't Shax and it was some sort of intruder. I know they can go down the Bajoran thing with all their mysticism and shit like that with their religion. Um, but still, it just never worked for me at all. I mean, it was clever that they were trying to explain that there's a million different ways in the Star Trek universe so people can come back and all of that. And that is kind of smart, but at the same time, he is back. And what about the Tamarian fucking security officer? What's going to happen to him? He was just introduced last week. So this is not good, in my opinion. And I wish they never done it. How do you feel about it?
I 100% agree. Well, and you're being a little nice about it. I think that this is a travesty. They did a really good job with Shax being killed and everything like that. And I understand the joke they're trying to play, but I feel like in the end it should have not been Shax. Should have been a changeling or something like that. Like I feel like that this kind of, because that death did kind of resonate with people, and for them
Mm.
to just bring them back, I mean, just because people like them, it's like, no, that's the effect that these characters have on people. You kill them, you're supposed to feel the weight of that. So I know what they're playing at. They're like, oh, the main characters never die and they always come back. But if you really wanted to play on that, it should have been like you had this whole episode where he's trying to figure out what's going on with Shax, and then at the end he finds out that he's not really Shax and he's something else or someone else, or Rutherford is like in some kind of, I don't know, like dream state or something like that. And but he does feel a lot of remorse about Shax, so that's why Shax is there, because he wants to ask him, well, why did you sacrificed yourself for me? I don't know, I felt like that this is definitely one of the worst things they did in Lower Deck so far. I've loved a lot of stuff they've done. This is definitely in like the poo poo category.
I agree because Shax, he went out like a fucking boss.
Mm-hmm.
He went out like a boss, man. And to bring him back like this is a travesty, not a tragedy, a travesty, because you shouldn't be doing that to main characters. So not characters, but significant characters like this. You should give them an opportunity. I'm just probably just looking this way, but you should be giving them, the opportunity to be remembered for what they were. And by doing this, no, Changeling, um, parallel universe version of Shaq, something along those lines, I would have taken that. I would have taken that to a degree, but then I wouldn't want him to return either. It's not like I wanted this character to be permanent. So yeah, I'm not happy with this at all.
What are you watching?
I know it's my bloody projector. I do apologize. Okay, I'm sorted out now. So we're on to the second subplot of this episode, and that was Boimler not being able to use the replicators and also go through doors. And you know what? There was something else, because this was a Tom Paris episode as well. It's named after him, for fuck's sake. But I thought the lack of Tom Paris in this episode really pissed me off. I mean, you can name this episode after him, and we hardly get any Tom Paris in this episode at all. He should have been part of the main plot, not even the subplot. Just use him in a better way, because people like seeing these legacy characters come back.
Because including the plate sequence where the plate starts talking, he's in literally 3 scenes.
It reminds me of Ratatouille. You seen Ratatouille?
Yeah, maybe.
It reminds me of that, because when the rat he basically creates an imaginary friend in the chef, and I thought of that in the plate as well. But it was really, it was a bit silly with him not being able to go through doors and stuff like that, and not he on the replicator he ends up getting a bonsai tree. I thought, thinking to myself, how the fuck's he gonna eat that? But okay, fair enough. And then him and his adventures in the Jeffrey tubes, and then he ends up it's weird. Like how long was he in the Jeffrey tubes for his hair to grow that much?
I don't know. I think that's a part of the joke. I don't know. I mean,
he wasn't eating any food.
Time dilation.
Yeah. And then he finally falls onto the bridge, and then Tom Paris, his hero has a fight with him, thinking that he's a Corsican or something like that, some sort of marauder.
Kazon.
Oh, is it a Kazon? Yes, that's it. My bad. Sorry, there was Corsicans in this episode, but yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. So, what do you think of all of that?
I mean, I thought having what's his name? Not Nate McDowell. Is that his name? I can't. No, not Nate McDowell. Whatever his name is, Tom Paris.
Robert Duncan.
Duncan. Okay.
Duncan something.
It was nice to have him back, but I agree with you. Like, they didn't give him anything to do, and like I kind of this is our chance to kind of see what Tom has been up to, even in a comedy fashion. This is a chance for us to see what Tom's been doing since getting back to the Alpha Quadrant. I guess 5 years ago. If this takes place 5 years after Voyager, or I don't remember the timeline. Maybe 5 years after Nemesis. Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, it's a chance for us to kind of see what's going on with him, and maybe even see B'Elanna. I mean, come on, they have a kid together and they're married, and he doesn't even mention anything about him as far as I heard. But
yeah, we get a stupid Delta Quadrant joke, and that's about it. So, and I've noticed they've done this, like they did better with Riker in this season, but last season we got a little bit of him, and
why is he still lieutenant? Like, if it's 5 years later, why is he not like a commander at this point or something? Like, or at least a lieutenant commander? Like, this is what drives me crazy about the continuity issues. It takes 2 seconds for me to realize that Tom Paris should be more than a lieutenant.
I agree.
That's the little things that don't matter, but I'm just like, so. But I wanted more from Tom Paris and the plate.
Well, but as I said before, we've had a little bit of Riker and a little bit of Troy, and we had more of Riker this season. But also they brought back Q, and they used him so poorly.
Well, I was going to kind of compare this to the Q cameo. It was like, I mean, this use was a little bit better than the Q usage, but
the thing is with the Q, the situation with the Q is that they advertised him, and they shouldn't have advertised him. If they didn't advertise the Q, and just use Q for what he was in the show, it would have been better than thinking that Q's going to have a significant part of the episode when it was just used as an epilogue gag. You know what I mean?
Well, and I mean, Tom Paris was almost that. I mean, I know he was a little bit more present in this episode, but he really, as I said, had 3 scenes, and one of them he was a plate, like he was on the plate. You know, like
Yeah, we're not asking. I'm not asking for these guys to be the mainstay of that episode, but if you're going to bring them in, have a significant role in the episode. You know, the way what's his name, Badgie, had a significant role in his episodes when he was around. I want something like that from the guest stars, you know, especially when you're using legacy characters, because you know this is the sort of shit that fucking makes us geek out in the first place. But you know, Boimler finally got his credentials sorted, and he's able to walk through doors and probably order proper food from the replicator. Yada yada yada.
yada yada.
And it's funny in the way, like you have to actually correct the computer, and we kind of saw that in the first season of Discovery with Michael Burnham when she was trying to play logic with the computer, and we see that with Boimler. Remember when Michael Burnham was in jail or in the brig, and she was mentioning how she had to like explain to the computer that if you don't let me out, I'm going to die, and that can't be one of your priorities or some shit like that, your prerogatives. And he kind of used that, even though he wasn't able to activate Boimler, that he wasn't able to activate anything on the ship. He told the ship, listen, if you don't do this for me, I'm going to die, and you can't have that. And so that was pretty cool. I like that. Okay, so now we're on to the main plot. You know, girl power. I loved it. Absolutely fucking loved it. What's the name of the cat doctor?
Doctor. Oh God, I can't remember. I always forget her name.
I can't be calling her cat doctor, but I will be if you don't give me a name. Excuse me, it's gone 11 o'clock here. I do apologize, and I've made several videos. So she is scratching her fucking ass off, you know, and she's basically asking Tendi to do a special undercover mission, which is why she got Tendi to do it in the first place, because she wants a low-ranking officer to do it, so it's off the records. And she basically tells Tendi to get this particular item from her planet. Tendi doesn't want to do this alone, so she gets Mariner to join her. Now these two have never worked together as a twosome, so it was pretty cool, and they get to know each other a little bit better and stuff like that. And I like Tendi's sort of attitude at times, and this is how I like her. Like, I like the fact that she's trying to be nice, but when she gets pissed off, it just goes to 11, if you know what I mean. And you saw moments of that with her as well, which is what I appreciate about Tendi. Now, I like the fact that the item they get is some sort of cat fornication totem pole. And whilst realizing that they're touching something that's probably been rubbed up by many a person, Mariner realizes it's icky, and they drop it and they smash it. And you see Tendi's reaction. I loved it. I love Tendi's reaction and stuff. And then they try to get it repaired, and they go to the Orion planet. I mean, they have that thing with the Corsicans to try and earn some money to get it repaired, and they try to earn some latinum. But the Corsicans are not having it. They think they're cheaters and stuff like that, because Mariner's doing some hustling, with the space pool and stuff like that, which is all right, whatever. And then they go to Orion and they make Mariner a fake Orion, because I always forget that, like the Orions are a bit of a fucked up people, and they don't like humans and stuff like that. I kind of not really sure about that too much, but they made Mariner a fake Orion, and they tried to get the thing repaired there as well, but that wasn't happening, and it gets further damaged. And then, Tendi realizes, I'm gonna have to give this thing all fucked up back to the cat doctor and just face the music.
Ta'ana, by the way.
Ta'ana.
Okay,
back to Dr. Ta'ana, and just face the music. And we kind of realized that the doctor never wanted the item in the box, but the box itself, and you see her doing all her cat shenanigans.
And like her eyes get all big and everything, and like I was like...
But this made me wonder, which is what I put on my YouTube video, on my TikTok video. Why the fuck don't you just replicate a box? You know, and
But
how
that I thought the box was the heirloom, not the totem. That's what I thought they said. I thought they said the box was the heirloom.
she
I
said that
I
she
don't
just
know
wanted to.
what the totem was for. Maybe they had to put something in it in order to store it. But the actual totem is, or the actual box is the heirloom. That's what I gathered from it, but I might be wrong. I don't know.
And it's weird in a way. I don't want to get too much on the logic here because we are talking science fiction. But she was scratching and itching this whole fucking time. And somehow
She's got lice.
being in that box just changes everything. All right, fair enough.
I look, man. I don't.
I've never been a fan of aliens that are basically humanoid versions of Earth animals. And when you see this episode, it's weird. I like this episode, but now more I think of it, there's a lot of things I dislike about this episode. You know, I didn't like the fact they brought Shax back. I don't like the fact that they fucking hardly use Tom Paris. I'm not even sure if I like the fact that they make humanoid aliens out of Earth animals, like they've done with Dr. Tiana, and they make her do all these sort of character. They make her go through these characteristics that you come across from the animals of our own planet. So these sort of things bug me. You know what I mean? These sort of things really bug me. But okay, that was a joke. And that was pretty much the episode. What do you think of that, the main story?
I mean, the main story was fine, but this is I'm gonna have to say this is probably one of my least favorite episodes of Lower Decks. Not because it wasn't fun or funny, but just the Shax thing really irritates me. The usage of Tom Paris was because if they're okay, I'm not a fan of Voyager, but like you have the
Boy.
Or Voy, sorry, you have the Gary Stew of Voy because Tom Paris could do practically everything on that ship. I mean, he's a medical officer, he was a helmsman, he was a
He's a pilot.
womanizer, pilot, everything.
Mm.
Maybe not womanizer, but you know what I mean.
Salamander.
Yeah, salamander. And that's all you give him to do is he goes on the bridge. He says they have a Delta Quadrant joke. He takes the helm, and then he beats up Blamler because he thinks he's a Kazon. And then he has a couple lines as a plate. I feel like they could have used him a lot better. And I feel like the fact that there were 3 storylines going on in this episode, that's why we didn't get what we needed. They could have taken the whole Shax thing if because I think Rutherford had a pretty decent storyline last week, right? Didn't he? Or I'm trying to remember.
Well, last week we had the collector episode,
Oh, that's
and
right.
Rutherford
So
was just there as somebody who um he was basically having a bit part in that episode, and it was really about Mariner having to have more faith in the rest of the crew when it comes to ideas. Rutherford had a bigger part in episode 1 where he had a liking for pears, and Tendi thought there was something wrong with him, and she was basically chasing him all over the ship, electrocuting him and trying to stick a knife in him and stuff like that.
yeah. But I mean, really, the whole that whole Shax thing, they could have taken that out and done more with. They could have done more with Tom Paris. I feel like. So I this is probably I'm not gonna say I hated this episode because I didn't hate it. I did like when they were doing the whole Orion thing and we learned more about Tindy and the Orions and her past with the Orions and everything like that. So I did like that. But
I like the way just nothing that coming back to me. I like the way that Mariner was trying to make Tindy use her pheromones to get out of a sticky situation with all the men in that bar when they were playing that pool and stuff, and Tindy wasn't having it. She really doesn't want to be your stereotypical Orion, so to speak. She wanted to be one of the good ones, so to speak. So that was interesting to see. But I did like the fact that also when it came to some of the Orion men, like that blacksmith, she just like put her foot down and the guy fucking listened. He swings around about, you know, it's just fair enough. But yeah, it was an okay episode. I'll give it a 6 out of 10.
I'll give it a 5. As I said, there was too much that bugged me in this episode, and as I said, I didn't hate the episode, but at the same time, There were some major problems with it. That this is probably the first episode that I actively cringed during a couple times. At least I feel like it is. I'd have to go back and look at season 1, but I'm pretty sure that this is the first episode that I actively cringed at.
They're doing their best as well to try and cover up certain scenarios with humor. Like when Shax comes back, yeah, everyone knows that Shax is back. That one particular helmsman asks Shax how he come back from the dead, and he gets shunned away. Yeah, and eventually, I like the fact that eventually it was boiling over with Rutherford that he had to ask, and he was able to ask Shax in the turbo lift. But I knew they'd done a Sherlock on us. Have you seen that? You ever watched Sherlock?
Mm-hmm.
Remember the part where Moriarty? So when Sherlock jumps off the building, and we never got a resolution to how he survives that and stuff like that. That's what they kind of done. It's like they don't really have an answer for it, so they try to cover it up in a particular way. And yeah, that's what we got. But fair enough. Let's hope. Sometimes you can be a bit too smart for your own good. You know, you think you're being funny with your humor and stuff like that. And I think with this particular episode, that's what they did. You know,
Yeah,
they
I think that they were a bit too. I think they were a bit too. I don't want to say comfortable. Like they're just kind of like,
oh look, we'll just do this with the law. We'll do a bit of DC universe and stuff like that with the people coming back from the dead and stuff, and just play it for laughs. You know, like please. You know, so they got a bit too clever for their own boots, if that makes any sense.
yeah. I mean, they're too comfortable. They think at this point they're kind of like, and as I said, I'm not saying that this is bad. Like this isn't the end of Lower Decks. I feel like this one they kind of showed how comfortable they were.
Yeah, I mean, luckily for us, Shax is a still a minor. You know, even though he's a recognized character, he's a minor character, and I think also in a way, like they're probably missing somebody who would give that sort of Klingon sort of vibe on the ship, and anyone else they brought in would have probably been compared to Shax, so they probably just thought to themselves, okay, we'll just fucking bring Shax back, but. Still, I think it was a dumb move. It was a dumb move. Something like this might have been more appreciated if they're able to do maybe 3 or 5 more seasons, and they'd done it then that might have worked. But he just died 3 or 4 episodes ago. You know,
Yeah,
if we count the episodes back to back, you know, he died like 4 episodes ago. Now you're bringing him back. This is worse than fucking CM Punk's return. You know, after he ran away with the belt in the WWE. So yeah, I'm not feeling what they did at all with this particular episode, but still, it's Lower Decks. It's the best Star Trek out there at this moment in time.
yeah,
So even they can have an off day.
yeah.
You know,
And that's kind of the point is that yeah, that this is not like, as I said, it's not the be all end all.
exactly. So I think we pretty much covered everything we can. Anything more you want to say?
No, just I want to know. I want to see a spin-off series from well, in Star Trek that shows us Quark's like a bar rescue type thing with Quark, where he goes around and he like rescues restaurants around the galaxy and he turns them into Quark's bars. Since there's more than one Quark's bar, and because this is 2 separate planets, the one from Picard and then the one in this one are on 2 separate planets.
Yeah, he keeps saving bars all the time. It'll be like fucking Hell's Kitchen or something. No, sorry, Kitchen Nightmares with Gordon Ramsay, but it'll be fucking Quark saving bars instead. I'm not sure. You know, I wouldn't mind a spin-off from Lower Decks of any type. You know, regarding certain other characters. Maybe they leave the ship and they do something else, and we get a spin-off of them doing their thing. I mean, I wouldn't mind a spin-off of the Titan. You know, with Boimler number 2 on there and stuff like that. That would be cool.
I don't know. I'm also not thrilled with the Blemler number 2 thing, but
I don't mind that, but what's concerning me now we're seeing Shaq's back, Boimler's back. It's a, I mean, it's Reset City, dude. It really is. It's proper reset.
Yeah.
And where's the evolution in the show? If Shax is coming back and Boimler's back on the Cerritos, what's the point?
That's kind of what I was thinking. I'm like, all right, well, we're back to square one. And I mean, and as I said, even Blumler's back to an ensign. They didn't even make him a lieutenant junior grade, like, or keep him as a lieutenant junior grade. Like, he's like, oh, well, you're demoted back to ensign. And it's like, really? Like, why? Like, that makes no sense. It's not like he like was copied, then promoted, and then he went back, and then they said, okay, well, we're going to put you back to your original rank before you were copied. No, he was a lieutenant junior grade before he was copied, so he should stay a lieutenant junior grade when afterward too. But because I mean Riker was still lieutenant commander, right? Or not William Riker, Thomas Riker.
Thomas?
Yeah, he was still a lieutenant commander even after he they found him, because he retained his original rank. So
Okay, fair. Well, yeah, well, continuity is always a hard thing. Even in Star Trek, it's amazing how many things they fuck up, and they expect us to imagine that it's all connected when you see the massive loopholes and stuff like that. Going back to Discovery season 1 with the Klingons, for instance, well, we've mentioned that every time. I think we go to that as a go-to every time when it comes to continuity. So, yeah, all right. Okay, so we'll wrap this up.
sure.
All right, so this was our mass debate of episode 3, season 2 of Star Trek Lower Decks. We didn't appreciate it as much as maybe other people did, and we think maybe the writers got a bit too ahead of themselves when it came to making this episode. But let me know what you guys think. Don't forget to not only comment, subscribe, and all of that bollocks, and share and all of that, but oh, sorry, I said the word subscribe, but subscribe to Nerd Tube. We are the greatest YouTube channel you never heard of. Thank you very much for watching. Have a nice day. We'll see you cunts later. Live long and prosper, motherfuckers.